Monday night, May 1st, 2023. Barry Funkhauser here. Hello. Joe's there.
Hello.
And what's today? The 1st, right?
Today is May 1st. Happy May Day, Barry.
What are you supposed to say on the 1st?
Oh, White Rabbit. There we go. Thank you. You had to remind me, Tom. Man, it is. It's been a month already. I'm telling you.
It'll never work if you don't remember.
I know, right? So White Rabbit, White Rabbit, White Rabbit. I now have luck all month.
Okay, so I tried to look into this, Joe, and Chase is on with us. Hey, Chase, how's it going, Chase? Hey.
Oh, it's going pretty good. How's it going?
So I looked into this White Rabbit thing. Have you ever heard about this, Chase?
No, what is this?
It's a song by Jefferson Airplane.
No, come on, but that's not how you're using it. Like a few months ago, we started a show on the 1st of the month, and he's like, White Rabbit, starts screaming incessantly, White Rabbit.
I didn't start screaming. You and your hyperbole.
As if he saw one in his peripheral. And I was like, what's that? And he told me, okay, that you say that in the 1st of the month, right when you wake up. It's the first thing you say, and then it brings good luck, right, Joe?
Yes, yeah, that's the tradition, yes.
So I started doing it, like it was no big thing. And my luck started to change.
Oh, no, really? For real?
Well, if you look month to month, year to year, I had a pretty good 2 or 3 months over here. And I've been saying White Rabbit on the 1st. So today, while we were thinking about the show here, I Googled to try, because I never fact check Joe. I always assume that he knows everything.
You should always fact check me, man. I am terrible. You should fact check me all the time.
And the only thing that comes up is something about witches and Wiccan something about a Wiccan thing. Is this a witch? Did you cast a spell? Are you casting a spell?
I am not casting a spell. And really, that's the first thing that comes up for you on Google. When I type in White Rabbit, the first thing that comes up for me is song by Jefferson Airplane.
Well, aside from that, no, you have to, so I went on YouTube and went White Rabbit 1st of the month.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And this dumb little short came up that was like cartoon characters, ding, da, ding, da, ding. And it's like the witches created this back. And then I was like, hold on a second. We like casting spells on the podcast.
No, we're not casting spells on the podcast. So, I mean, people can, I don't know if it's a Wiccan thing. I always thought that it was a British thing, and it started with kids and the Alice in Wonderland stories. Because Carol was over there in the UK writing these stories, right? The Alice in Wonderland stories, probably doing lots and lots of acid or something while writing them. But I think that's where it started. I don't know if it started as like a Wiccan thing. Nothing against Wiccan. If you want to, if you want to be a witch, be a witch. I don't care.
Well, I don't know if I should trust Joe or YouTube.
Again, never trust me.
Isn't it like
YouTube is probably way better.
Isn't it like a computer hacking thing too? Something?
Yes, it is. It also is that. White Rabbit is just everywhere, guys. I'm telling you. You can't get away from it.
Hey, well, I'll tell you one thing. I'm going to keep doing it because it's helping me. So thanks.
Well, wait, but I thought that you were having actual rabbit problems in your garden.
No.
Are you saying White Rabbit and now the rabbits all disappeared?
Well, I don't have a rabbit problem. I got gophers and night crawlers, something that comes at night and harvests all the strawberries while I'm sleeping. No, that's got no...
Coyotes? Do coyotes like strawberries? Oh, wait, they can't get
coyotes here. It's probably possum. Raccoon.
Possums eat strawberries? That's crazy.
They eat whatever is there.
Raccoons, I can see raccoons eating anything.
So anyway, today on the show, good luck, everyone. White Rabbit.
White Rabbit.
I think it still counts.
Rabbit.
Even in the evening. Depends on when you start your day. If you're starting your day right now, hey. Third Shifters. How's it going, Third Shifters? Welcome to the program. So we thought we'd have Chase on today because a lot has been going on in the world of Chase Shumway and Twitchland and elsewhere. You've been in the laboratory for a couple of months trying to figure out how to present yourself on the World Wide Web. And I think you've come up with a fantastical design at your website, ChaseShumway.com.
Why, thank you.
Can you walk me through the process of how you designed this beautiful?
Sure. It was a very simple process. The SSL certificate was up for renewal on my VoiceOver website, which I'm not really pursuing as much anymore. So there was no reason to pay for another one. So I just merged that site with my my normal, just personal website. Because
explain to the people listening, and mostly me, what is an SSL?
So that's anytime you visit a website, if you look up in the corner on Chrome or whatever browser you're using, you'll see that little padlock icon. And that's basically just a secure connection. It's telling you that the website you're talking to is secure and encrypted, and nobody can hack in and see what you're doing. If they do hack in, it's all gibberish and they wouldn't be able to understand it anyway.
So you look at the HTML URL thing right next to where it says ChaseShumway.com. You'll see the there you go.
I found the lock.
You can see view site information.
I found the lock.
Right.
Now, web hosting, they used to include an SSL for free with your web hosting, but they don't anymore. They got wise to that, and they thought, we can make even more money if we charge for that separately. So, that was the first thing. The other thing is my site, just ChaseShumway.com, was it was a blog format, and I just had neglected it for months and don't really write anymore. And plus, I don't think people read blogs anymore. I don't think people go to blogs. So I was like, I think I need to redesign this and just sort of push my professional skills, make a simple one-page website that says, this is me, this is what I can do, contact me if you want to hire me.
Well, that is fantastic. And you're right. People don't read.
Yeah.
But they do watch video.
It's interesting because in between the two worlds, like Chase and I have talked about this in detail. I think Joe too. All three of us have different takes when it comes to online presence. I used to think to myself, who cares? 100 years from now, this will all be archived. I'm never going to say anything bad. I'm going to think that way, where anything that I post or put online, it's going in the archive machine. And, 200 years from now, people will look back fondly and never find a bad tweet. But, you two think of it a little different. Like you have, and I'm on your side now where we've kind of pulled back from our online presence. Is that the case on your side?
I think a lot of people have started doing that, actually. I think a lot of people are getting more savvy about the interwebs and the information that they share on there. And I think a lot of people are more like me than like an influencer. I think there are more people scrubbing their history from the internet and social media than are sharing more of their personal stories, especially in my generation in Gen X.
Now, we all know what that is, but why is it for you personally? What made you, I'll start, since it's my show, I'll start and answer my own question.
Answer your question, Barry.
I decided to pull back because, when the billionaire bought the newspaper, I saw a quote, and it said something to the effect of, every oil baron needs a newspaper. And I thought about it, and when Elon bought the thing, I went, oh, we're just kind of swinging back and forth in history. So when that started happening and the implosion began on social media, I was like, what did people do back when this happened the first time? When oil was the big money and there were, people.
Oh, wait, you're talking about the Gilded Age?
Yeah. So what did the other people do? Well, they had farms.
Wait, well, tell me about who are the other people that you're speaking of?
The people who didn't, buy into the oil barons newspaper. People who were like, I hate to use the word woke, but
don't use it, because
those kinds of people that were like not interested in like mainstream media. They were, maybe something personal happened to them, and then that was printed. Lies.
Okay, so are these people? Are you talking about the people that are too smart for the propaganda, or the people that are too dumb and bought into the propaganda?
I'm talking about what did the people do that ignored it altogether?
You can't. That person
people?
doesn't exist. No,
maybe they were Amish.
Doesn't exist. Nope, that person never existed. It's almost impossible to be completely ignorant of all of the propaganda.
I didn't say that. I'm just saying there's got to be another half. It isn't all. Nothing is ever all.
No. Well, half is 50% on one side and 50% on the other.
Maybe
so
it was more.
You're saying that there's a third rail here somewhere.
I think Chase understands what I'm trying to say. Is what did the other people do that weren't like? Did you hear what happened in the newspaper? Did you get the paper this morning?
Well, that's just it. They read the paper. That was your source of news back then. So the news cycle was significantly slower, and then until radio came along. So yeah, they read the paper and they gossiped.
So Barry, I think the third rail that you're talking about are people who were just completely uninformed about current events.
Well, yeah, and that too. Yeah, you probably had people in like rural areas that had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, they didn't get the paper from the big city. Because remember, the paper was only in the big cities. It's not like, they had, like the New York Times didn't have a printing facility in the middle of Arkansas so they can get their paper out there. That's not how it worked. It was like,
I think you know what? You guys are on the right track of what I'm trying to say. It's like you're going to say that they're not intelligent because they're not.
No. I take that back. They're not. It's not that they're not intelligent. They're just uninformed.
Yeah, uninformed. Yeah,
they're uninformed with the society's news, but maybe they read the Farmer's Almanac. Like, what are they doing if they're not? Because not everybody was on board with that. What were the other people doing? What do you think they were doing?
Being uninformed like they are now. They were okay. So.
What were their lives like? That's what I'm asking.
They were probably a lot happier.
There you go.
Ignorance is bliss. I mean, that saying.
There you go. And I think they may have been ignorant in, education, school and stuff, but there's got to be, every human is smart at something. So
sure.
What they put their wisdom into back then.
It was probably a lot of gossip. It was probably a lot of religion. And it was probably a lot of like wives' tales and fantasy stuff. It was like, all like the.
I'm not talking about pop culture. Maybe.
No, I'm not talking about pop culture either. I'm talking about like medicine. Someone got sick. It was like, okay, well, what was the homeopathic remedy for a cold or something?
That's not exactly what I'm trying to tell you. It's like they were good at something. They weren't replacing knowledge with their own knowledge.
Okay, well let's take a scenario then. Let me set up a scenario and you tell me what you're trying to say. It is now 1922. We are in the Gilded Age. Great. World War I is over.
1923.
Sure, fine. 1923. Fine.
Got to be exact.
How about this? It's April of 1923. I am a farmer in a small town in rural Ohio. I have a 4-acre plot and I grow wheat. I don't get a newspaper because I don't live anywhere within 100 miles of a major urban area.
You get the newspaper, but you just don't.
How do I get the newspaper if I'm 100 miles away from the nearest
that's not the person that I'm talking about, I guess. I don't know. Okay, continue. Go ahead. You don't get the newspaper. Fine. It doesn't matter to this person.
So I get. So at this point, radio's
not interested in it.
Radio's around. Are they listening to the radio?
Maybe.
At this point, I am thinking that this person is listening to the radio, and at that point in April 1923 in rural Ohio, there were hucksters on the radio all over the place.
Okay, right, stop. But if if they were listening, they didn't care either way. It wasn't affecting their opinion. They weren't given any thought. It was on. Okay. It was just.
Why are we even talking about this? What point are you trying to make? So it's a person who doesn't engage in current events.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say. Are you? Yeah. Am I just alone here?
I'm well, I mean, it's 1923. I'm sitting on my farm jonesing for a drink. Prohibition's in full effect.
Right. Prohibition.
I want some booze.
Yeah. No, it's just like my big major ask for this episode is the people like today, think of 2023, and there are, people, a lot of them are following the news and stuff, and they're believing it, and their lives are affected by it. If you have like a job that is affected by new, current events and stuff, but there are certain people in this country that aren't affected by it whatsoever. They're doing just fine. I think a lot of them are maybe farmers. There are a lot of people that are living their lives day to day without any care in the world about what's going on in Washington, D.C. Current.
Right. That's like 75% of the country.
Yeah.
So I wonder
so what's your point?
What was it like 100 years ago, and what were they interested in? How did they...
It was exactly the same. 75% of the country didn't care. The people on the coasts actually cared and followed stuff because that's where all the money was and still is in the country. Those are the people that actually have a stake in government and the way the country functions because they have the money. All the people that don't have the money, they don't care and they're never going to care. I only care because it's like baseball for me now. Like politics and government and all this stuff. It's like I don't watch sports anymore. I follow along with politics because the human interaction of politics is just fascinating to me because all of these people are just pretty awful. And it's like they say they get into government to help people, but no one ever helps anybody. So I think that's the cynicism, and it's still there, and it's always been there. Government's not going to do anything. It's just rich people doing rich people stuff. That's where I think that's how a lot of people feel in the country. At least that's my take.
Okay, right. Okay, so you're onto the right, where I'm at, the third rail. We've met at the third rail. Those people that you've just explained 100 years ago, tell me what their life was like. What were they doing? Give me an example of somebody living that kind of life.
Chase was right on it. Go for it, Chase.
Yeah, they were probably farming. That was back then.
For a beverage.
Grow your own food and slaughter your own meat.
They're
probably farming, and then they'd go into town to the general store and pick up some tobacco and supplies, maybe some flour so they could make bread, whatever. And
don't forget that juniper berry so they can make the back home still alcohol.
And then
talk about moonshine.
Moonshine. They would have access to newspapers, at the store or whatever. And again, it's because, back then the news cycle was so much slower. They would hear about something and, it might have been something that happened weeks ago and they're just hearing about it for the first time,
And remember that 100 years ago, religion had a much stronger hold on the country than it does now. And so I feel like a lot of those people would have been going to religious services.
I'll debate you on that on another day because we weren't there. We don't know, really. We just know.
What do you mean we don't know? We absolutely know. We have all of the data from back then about how religious the country was.
All the places, everywhere?
Yes, we have all of that data. We know how religious people were back 100 years ago in the United States.
All right. Well,
hey, you don't have to trust me. Again, don't trust me. Look it up on the internet. We have all that data.
I'm not going down that wormhole.
People were much more religious, so they were going to be there. And I told you, radio was still around. So they were probably listening to their favorite radio programs. They were probably getting some news there. Probably listening to some revivals, on the radio. Also, baseball was a huge national sport at that time. You remember, this is Babe Ruth era. 1923, we're right in the middle of Babe Ruth's era. So
fine, but
people
there's
are going
a lot of
crazy
people
for baseball. They're listening to baseball on the radio. It was literally the only thing in town going on.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. Well, okay, so my last question, and then we'll get out of here for the day. Thanks for being on, Chase. This one goes to you here. Here's the question.
Okay.
Do you think that you getting off social media as much as you can is triggering some sort of new Gilded Age? Because it's caught on. A lot of people are getting off social media for whatever reason. A lot of them have the same reason for getting off. But do you forecast, because you know these things, can you envision some sort of new Gilded Age with a lot of people a large exodus of people leaving social media? Or do you think that we're just screwed altogether? Generations below us are just going to continue this filth? And what are your thoughts?
Well, you know me, I'm an eternal pessimist, so I have a much darker take on social media in general. I think it's terrible. I think it's having a more negative impact on society as a whole than it is a positive one. I don't know that there would be like a mass exodus, but I feel like there might be a consolidation of like just to like one or two specific platforms. I mean, that's what I did. I don't use Facebook anymore. I'm not really using Twitter anymore. I'm getting ready to delete my Twitter probably. I have Instagram, and that's about it. And I don't know. I can't tell you why Instagram specifically. It's a simple, concept. It's pictures, and I can like pictures, and it shows me more pictures of things I like. So it works for me. And, and I feel like the interaction on there is a little better than Facebook. But I don't know. Yeah, I think people may end up kind of like with the streaming platforms where, everyone starts out on all of them, but then they have to kind of reel it in and just pick just a few of their favorites.
Speak for yourself, man. I still have all of them.
Joe is paying $1,000 a month for 20 different streaming services.
I'll tell you what, I don't have one. I don't have Apple Plus because, man, there's literally nothing on Apple Plus I want to watch.
Oh, dude. Well,
what about the morning show or whatever?
That's
no. I don't want to watch shows about terrible people. That's why I don't. That's why I don't do Succession.
There's a Michael J. Fox documentary coming out, man, and it looks like Major League Baseball Friday night baseball games are happening on there, and everyone hates it because the play-by-play is terrible.
Doesn't matter. All that stuff. My thing about social is I don't think people are going.
Yeah, Joe, you have the last word today. Go ahead. The floor is yours. What is your
I was just gonna
I wanted to give the people a big introduction because this is the final part of the new season of the podcast. Joe, sure. Final thought. You're the ghost of Jerry Springer today, and our final thought today is with Joe. Go ahead.
Oh, wow. Okay. A lot of pressure. I don't think people are. I think people are changing how they are interacting with social, and I think they're going to more closed off apps like Discord, where it's, you're finding your niche and you're going into a specific niche community, for a game that you like specifically, or, an artist that you might enjoy, or a genre or something like that you might enjoy. Or a
political point of view.
Exactly. So, I think that the days of like the big social like Twitter and Insta and stuff like that and TikTok's gone. I think it's going to continue to degrade because like you said, it's not fun anymore. It's become like a job. Like you have to constantly update your social media to keep up with the Joneses. And I think people are just done trying to keep up with the Joneses. I think they just want to find more like-minded people and nicer community because the big social square has all now just been dominated by trolls and people that want to just be loud.
Yeah, who can say it's a big look at me contest? Who can say the most provocative thing and get everybody wound up?
Exactly, and that's not what people want. It's right. that has turned out to be extraordinarily stressful for a lot of people. And that's why people are disengaging from social and going into those more smaller niche kind of online communities. But online communities in and of themselves can be great. You just got to find the right ones, and you got to find ones that are going to formulate actual constructive conversations and not be the, I'm the loudest, look at me, I'm going to be provocative kind of stuff. In a community where everyone's working toward the same general goal and everyone's nice and respectful, those tend to be smaller, and those are starting to be much more dynamic now than just everybody having a Facebook page or a Twitter page. Oh, and everybody, dump Twitter, because Jack Dorsey has a new app called Blue Sky that's basically Twitter. So you don't even need to deal with Elon anymore. You could just go to Blue Sky now and hang out with Jack.
Excellent final thought. All right. Thanks, gentlemen.
Take care of yourself and each other.